So I was hoping one of you would like to comment on the importance of climate in down ballot races, state house races, county commission races, mayorships. Would anyone like to?
Well, I'm happy to do that, but let's start a little further up the ballot. We better not send Joe Biden back, send him to the White House and then let Mitch McConnell keep running the U.S. Senate, because that's not going to get us much anywhere. And there's some really key Senate races where people are making climate. I just saw a terrific ad today from the medical doctor who's running for Senate in Alaska, Al Gross. And it's all about global warming, and it's all about what's going on in the state that may actually have seen more climate effects than any other, and he's tied in the polls with the Republican incumbent in Alaska. I mean, look down at South Carolina. You've got Jamie Harrison. They've tied in the polls with Lindsey Graham. I mean, we got to put as much energy as we can over the next few days into these kind of races, because they're winnable. And you know what? I mean, we really need those guys understanding that if they get elected, their support is coming from the climate movement. One of the most impressive things that's happened in the electoral season this fall was watching Ed Markey come back in his primary from 17 points down to win by 10 points, clearly because people identified him with the Green New Deal and climate action. That message got heard in the U.S. Senate. All of a sudden, I mean, these guys are all experts on getting elected, and they're all thinking, yeah, you know what, we better not get crosswise with this movement. And that's right. So now is the time to, I was going to say to pour on the gas, but that's the wrong metaphor. Now is the time to stamp down on the electric accelerator and drive some of these guys straight through to victory, because the Senate is as important as the White House this time around.
Absolutely. Are there any other Senate races anyone would like to quickly mention as being key? We got to keep Gary Peters in Michigan for sure.
Sarah Gideon in Maine.
Yeah. So that's a great place to volunteer your time too, if is with a Senate race, and your money. So just quickly, if we could talk a little bit about how down ballot races are important on climate. I have to admit to a little bias. I'm a former county commissioner, but I would love to hear what Justin, Charlie, or Bill have to say on this. I think, Justin, you've worked a lot on these issues. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just give a short story to illustrate. But late 2019, there was a piece of land contaminated with uranium and PCBs that collapsed into the Detroit River. And one of the reasons why it collapsed into the Detroit River is because of rising water levels. And so, again, this is the Detroit River. It sits international waterways. So you have Canada on one side, Detroit on the other. And we found out about a week after it happened. And this is where people get drinking water. This is where people fish. This is where people recreate. And we had contaminated land collapsing into the river. And so one of the things that happened immediately is, local activists, banded together with local city councilors. Casanova Lopez of the city of Detroit was one. Local state senators, Stephanie Jiang in Michigan was one. Federal lawmakers, Rashida Tlaib, Debbie Dingell, and others, Brenda Lawrence. And what we're able to do is put pressure on, at the federal level. The Coast Guard was asleep on the job. But also what we did is we wrote a city level ordinance to make sure that we were actually protecting the Detroit River from rising water levels. And that's something that's being reviewed right now. And that could not have been possible without activists and organizers working hand in hand with local lawmakers. And so having lawmakers at the city council level, at the county commission level, at the state senate level, who actually understand and who are interested in addressing climate change and environmental justice is so important. The question oftentimes is not, do they believe in climate change? And a lot of urban cities, the answer is yes. People are, most are Democrat, believe in the science. The question that's really important to ask is how high on the priority list is climate for city councilors and for legislators. And that's where volunteering, donating, in these local races can give you a lot of bang for your buck. If you can elect someone who not only believes in the climate science, but who is put it at the top of the priority list and who is advocating every single day, it can make an enormous difference for folks on the ground locally. So I would encourage not just to get involved at the federal level, but to also just donate and spend your time electing climate champions at the local level as well.
Yeah, I want to echo that. I mean, I've been talking with my local school board candidates about what they can do, and there's university regents here in Michigan who can make a huge difference on things like how pensions get invested in fossil fuel funds or in green funds, things like that. And I think almost every race actually is a climate race. And helping our candidates and our elected officials think about it that way is crucial at every level. Bill or Charlie, did you want to jump in on that? Or
Yeah, I'll just say that if Justin hasn't yet convinced you that local and state races are absolutely crucial for the climate fight, I'll say that fossil fuel companies and dirty energy utilities are pouring millions of dollars into the tiniest of local ballot initiatives and elections, right? And they spent $100 million defeating successfully 3 ballot initiatives, one in Colorado, one in Washington State, one in Arizona in 2018, that put climate and clean energy issues on the ballot. In California, gas companies are spending millions of dollars trying to challenge really obscure state senate races, county supervisor elections. They poured millions of dollars into trying unsuccessfully to defeat a city ordinance that would prohibit new natural gas connections and buildings. And they're doing that because they know that action happens from the ground up, and that the groundswell of change when it comes to the climate crisis is going to come from city councils and county supervisor boards and state legislatures. So, we can't let them, right? We can't let them claim that turf and keep pouring millions of dollars into defeating these changes at the local level. So I think it's up to us to fight back.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the ludicrousness of the amount of money that the fossil fuel industry spends on all this stuff. If you go look at the records for what's been spent on any referendum or any, race in almost any state in the union, it's because the oil industries decided they had to stop something that people wanted. And we're never going to have enough money to stand up to these guys, but we've got enough people when we get them out. Let me just add a couple of Senate races I forgot. Mark Kelly in Arizona, Teresa Greenfield in Iowa. These are, we've got a lot. What Justin and Charlie were saying before is really important. Yeah, it's really good to have people who say the right thing about climate, but it's 10 times better to have people who are viscerally committed, like real climate champions moving in. And we see that now. We see it everywhere. There's kids who were working, a year ago on the Sunrise Movement, and now they're running for city council. And just seek them out everywhere. Among other things, that's the bench from which we then draw people who are going to be U.S. senators and U.S. presidents. That's how it works.